Health groups will step up pressure on the federal government in a campaign to be launched tomorrow to increase taxes on wine in a bid to curb alcohol abuse. Australians are drinking increasing amounts of cheap wine, and doctors say making it more expensive is the only way to stop the trend. But winemakers say targeting wine drinkers is unfair and will hurt the poor and the elderly. Michael Edwards reports.
Hard-earned thirst needs a big cold beer.
Australians have long had a reputation for liking a beer. In recent years, habits have changed though, as wine and other drinks become increasingly popular. But as tastes have moved, the problem of alcohol abuse hasn't. That's why the AMA and other health groups are holding a summit in Canberra tomorrow, calling for changes to the way alcohol is taxed.
Well, in Australian society, the excess costs from alcohol are estimated to be about $36 billion a year, which is an enormous cost. And we know that certainly for young people between 14 and 25, 80% of those people consume alcohol in a dangerous way, dangerous to themselves and dangerous to others around them. And 10% of Australians actually drink alcohol in a way that's dangerous to themselves. So this is an enormous problem.
Doctors say alcohol is too cheap, with some cask and bottled wine less expensive than bottled water. Many in the medical profession say the solution is to make it more expensive by raising taxes.
Certainly a price signal is very important, particularly for that price-sensitive group of young people, certainly the 15 to 25s, and certainly people who consume large volumes of alcohol are very price-sensitive. So it's a really helpful tool to actually minimise the misuse and abuse of alcohol.
Last year, Ken Henry recommended changing the way alcohol is taxed. But the issue isn't expected to be high on the agenda at next month's Gillard government-sponsored tax forum. And there's opposition from the liquor industry.
The reality is that we have a cultural problem when it comes to alcohol abuse, and we ought to be looking at more far-reaching initiatives to deal with those issues. And when we continually hear that the solution lies in increasing tax, in putting on warning labels and restricting alcohol advertising, it pretty much says to us that they're bereft of new ideas and that they don't have a solution for this.
And winemakers say there'll potentially be unintended and unwanted consequences.
All of the evidence we've seen will be that it will increase prices, it will lead to reductions in consumption of wine, but lead to a whole lot of shift into other alcohol beverages.
Tomorrow's summit will also see the release of a detailed study into the nation's drinking habits and how increased taxes could lessen the impact of alcohol abuse.
We can increase more revenue, we can discourage problem drinking, we can help the Australian wine industry, which is experiencing a glut of low-quality wine, and we can save a lot of precious water being taken out of the Murray.
But a government already making tax changes on a number of sensitive fronts will not be easily convinced. The Gillard government says higher taxes would cripple an industry already suffering due to an oversupply of both grapes and wine. Michael Edwards, Late Line.